Hey there, I'm Maggie.
And I'm Kate.
And this is our show, Honestly Though, with Maggie and Kate.
You're listening to Season 1, where we're having more of the honest conversations that you won't find in corporate American settings or among polite company.
Every Wednesday for the next 10 weeks, we'll talk openly about common experiences that affect people at work and in life, but aren't usually talked about in business-as-usual environments.
You won't find a highly polished show in Season 1, but we can promise that you're getting the raw and honest perspective of two solopreneurs who outgrew the status quo and are committed to thriving in this next season.
And the most important part is we're not really interested in talking at you. We want to talk with you, so you can join the conversation in the comments or send us a conversation starter for a future episode, and you can find all the ways to get involved in the show notes.
All right, let's get to it. We are talking about competitiveness versus collaboration today, which this is something we have talked about a lot in our time together. We're both pretty competitive people. And I think, I'm an MBA. I took classes on competition, right? And my relationship with competition at work specifically has become a little complex. So when we suggested doing one about competitiveness versus collaboration, I thought that would be super fun and a good thing to explore and hash out together. So thank you for joining me on that today.
Yeah, I'm honestly a little nervous for this topic because I feel like being so aware of my competitiveness, I realize that it's a side of me I don't know. It's not that I don't love that side of me. It's just she can get out of control, and I don't always realize that until it's brought to my attention. And I feel like this is gonna be one of those conversations where I leave feeling like you're too much. You need to chill. And I don't love feeling that way. Obviously, no one does, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm nervous.
Let me meet you there. I will start. I'm a mom. My kids are 12 and 10, and I never let them win, ever, at any game, ever. And I never have, even when they were younger. And I feel like sometimes this gets me side-eye looks from folks. But I have always said to my kids, when you beat me at a game, so specifically some of the games that I'm the best at, Scrabble and Mario Kart, I want them to know that when they beat me, it's because they're the best.
Right.
Because I'm the best at those games. And so that is my level of competitiveness, where it's even my children, no, you just will not beat me. Unless you beat me. You have to beat me fair and square. And so and even as I was talking about this with my stepmom the other day, because my family always gives me crap because I really am very competitive at games. There was also, I'll tell you one more story. My sister and my brother-in-law, very early in their relationship, they came over, I think it was on a New Year's Eve or something, and we played Settlers of Catan. And I got so mad because they teamed up with each other, and they were pooling resources, and you're not supposed to do that because it's an individual game. And I got so mad, and there's this picture. I lost, of course, because they cheated. And there's this picture of me just my face is beet red, and I'm crying at the table. And they bring it up every year of you can't lose. You're incapable of losing. So anyways,
okay. But I would argue in that scenario, you weren't even just crying because you lost. You were crying because everyone ganged up on you and made a point to make you feel bad. They literally went out of their way to make you feel bad, and now they bring it up like it's funny.
Yeah, that does.
That makes me want to hit people. That makes me feel physically angry. What are you talking about? That's so rude.
It makes me
again, I am competitive though, so I'm taking it as if I'm you, I'm not crying because I lost. I'm crying because I hate you people. I'm immediately you guys are evil. That sounds so mean. And in my head, it's they're just sore losers. So they literally teamed up to make you feel just as bad as they always feel. Okay, fuck you. You always lost. I'm sorry. That story made me so mad.
Yeah, well, now we play this same group of us. We play Mario Party all together. My brother-in-law is so much better than me. No, he doesn't cheat, and he still wins, and it makes me so mad. And then Mario Kart he is infinitely better than me. I won't even play it when I play with him because I can't stand losing, and,
That was me with my college roommate. My college roommate, we had an N64, we loved Mario Kart, we all grew up on it. I'm really good at some of those Mario games, like, I now know I'm not the best, but I for a long time was like, I was unbeatable. And then in college, I had a roommate who could do that Rainbow Road jump, and he could almost like 70% of the time he would make this jump. I
Mhm.
just stopped playing with him because I was like, "It's not fun when there's no chance to win."
Uh-huh.
Like, it's fine
Yeah.
to lose, but when you round 1 jump, I just quit. Like, I'm
Yeah.
there's
Yep.
no point in finishing the round.
Yep.
Ugh, so annoying.
So let's like pivot over into competitiveness at work. So
Yeah,
I have always been like, I've had managers describe me in meetings to new people as someone who loves to win. And it's interesting because I don't like, I like to be awesome at what I do. Like I take pride in my work, but I've never really thought of my work as like a game like that, like as something where there's winners and losers. Like I like
right.
to excel, but I've never thought of like, I'm in a game and I better like get around the board first or something. But I know that that's something like my desire to win and my competitiveness does come out at work because I've been described that way in the past. So I don't know. I think like once it starts getting into work for me, it starts getting interesting because, like, is just wanting to be the best enough to mean you're super competitive? I'm not sure. What does competitiveness in the workplace look like to you?
Yeah. I mean, I gotta be honest, I'm curious with you, like, you mentioned how you are with your kids, but, like, how was your family with you when you were little? Because I feel like
Mm,
for me, I feel like it definitely I can trace it back to being very young. We're similarly, my uncle didn't let us win at Monopoly. That was, like, the one game that we, like,
mhm,
he wouldn't let you. And and so I learned from a very young age that I had to try if I wanted to, like, be the best or whatever. I don't
mhm,
even think I've ever beaten him before he passed away. Like, I literally feel like I
mhm,
never won that game with him, but I feel like I carried that where, like, I, like, won with the games, but also I was a middle child, so I feel like I was always kind of competing for, like, attention and things and just, like,
mhm.
whether it was intentional or not, my sisters and I were very competitive over, like, who's the best, like, the best
Yeah.
sibling, the best daughter, because we're all 2 girls, and so I feel
Mhm,
like I carried that into the workplace with me where it's like, I always wanted to be the teacher's pet, and then when I went into the workspace, I wanna be the best, like, the best person on the team, my boss's favorite. I used to joke with Neil, and I feel like he feels the same way, but I've always wanted to be like an assistant manager because I want to be somebody's right hand man, but I don't want to be the one that like, everybody hates and has to make all those decisions. Like, I feel like being second in command is like the
yeah.
best for me because I am the best without having to be the decider of the best.
Sure.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like that's how it always carried in for me was it's always for, like, validation and feeling like people like me and, like, value me, and it
Uh-huh.
was I don't actually this sounds bad, but I don't actually care about the physical work I was doing ever,
Uh-huh.
sure, when I was in accounting, I wanted everything to be accurate because that's how could be my boss's favorite, but, like, I
Sure.
wasn't like, "God, the spreadsheet." It was more like the conversation I have with my bosses means more to
Uh-huh.
me. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
I think
interesting.
mine's more an attention thing than actually, like I don't think it's internal in a way, like, I need that external validation is where my competitive drive comes from. It's so I can
Yeah.
get that compliment or whatever the thing is.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think for me as a kid, it was really I had both. Like my grandma who loved playing Scrabble. So like Scrabble is one of my favorite games, and my grandma loved playing Scrabble, and then my grandpa loved playing Scrabble. They're not like my grandpa on my dad's side and my grandma on my mom's side. And when I would play Scrabble with my grandma on my mom's side, she would let me win.
Mm,
Um,
that's
or
so
she
funny.
wasn't or she wasn't very good. I think she just let me win. I'm pretty sure. Because she was
Like, I'm
very
not
smart.
calling her stupid, she definitely let me win.
Yeah, I'm just pretty sure she let me win because it seemed like she got better at the game as I got older, and that doesn't make sense any other way. So, and then my grandpa was much more like me. It didn't ma I unless I beat him, I didn't beat him. I think I beat him once in my life before he passed away. Um, and it was like a pure fluke, and he was like, "What is this word? This is not even a word," like, whatever. And
Challenging you in
he
the
also
dictionary.
Monopoly was like a big game for him too. He actually, for real, flipped a Monopoly table one time. Like, he was very competitive with games. So there's some with that in my childhood, and then I'm the eldest daughter. I didn't, and I'm 7 years older than my sister. So
Mm.
in a lot of ways, I felt like an only child for a really
Yeah,
long
you
time.
aren't really competing.
Yeah, I was just, I never really felt like I didn't feel like I was competing with my sister. I felt like I was competing as myself. And I was on swim team, and like that's another sport where like you're just competing against your last best time and whatever. And so but as the eldest daughter, like, I was expected to be responsible. I was, expected to lead by example and like get good grades and, watch my siblings and never do things like put Jerry Springer on the TV while my mom wasn't home, and then have my brother like chant Jerry as a 2 year old when she got home. Whatever. So like, there was like a lot of pressure on me to like be whatever. And then it wasn't until I was never great at school. I was okay. I was like B, C student until my senior year of college. Actually, my like junior, senior year, I graduated a semester early. Um, Once I got into those English classes that like I really loved, then I wanted to be the best. I wanted my paper to be the best. I wanted my grade to be the best. And then when I did my MBA after that, I got a solid 4.0, and I got a 4.0 while I was also getting married and having two children, which everyone was like, you need to like do your MBA first, because if you start a family while you're working on your MBA, you'll quit and you'll never finish. And I'm like, watch me. And so like it was always like I always felt like I was competing against myself, and just like I had things to prove, but not so much to everyone else, but just like I loved when people would tell me I couldn't do things, and then I was like, yes, I can, and then did them. And that's always been fun for me. And thinking about it through that lens and thinking about it in corporate, like I loved when we had like a really tight deadline for getting a coupon on a package and getting it into the store. And it seemed like damn near impossible. And I was like, no, I can do it. And then I did. And so it was always that kind of stuff. Just like I love a challenge. Um, but I was always competing against myself. I never felt like I was competing against other people around me at work. And I think maybe that's because too, a lot of the departments I worked at, like I was one of the only, I didn't have a lot of peers like on my level. I never worked at a company where there were like six other marketing managers around me and like who's going to be the boss's favorite. I was just like
Right.
always the one direct report, and that's it.
Interesting. I mean, I gotta, if you don't mind me challenging you a little, you
Yeah.
said that they said, "Oh, like, do your the MBA first, you can't do both," and you said, "Watch me," and then immediately you went into how you weren't doing it to prove anyone else wrong, but it sounds like the
Yeah,
outside
you're right.
commentary
You're right.
did fuel a little
Yeah.
bit, and I'm not saying you, like, got your MBA just to prove them wrong, but, like, I kinda do hear, like, a small theme of, like, when someone not necessarily challenges, like, but
Yeah.
challenges you to like, "Oh, like, are you sure you can do the thing?" Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I heard that, like, contradiction in there and was like,
Right.
"Okay, that's interesting, though," because I believe you when you say it's not from the external, but that one comment you made very much sounded like when things got hard during the MBA, I imagine you thought back to that comment and thought, "No, I can do this," and let that kind
Yeah.
of fuel you through the process, even if you weren't doing it to prove that person wrong, it's like it was
Yes.
in the puzzle for sure, at least how I'm hearing
Yeah.
it. Totally correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think you're spot on there, and I appreciate you calling me out on that. I think you're so right, because it did get really hard. When I'm pregnant, I throw up all day, every single day for the entire 9 months. And
Mm.
so that means I was throwing up on my way to class every day. Like there were many times where I was like, I should, I should quit
Like,
this.
they were right.
Like, what am I doing? I can like wait a couple of years and I can come back and finish it. But having that voice in my head that said you can't or you won't is what kept me going.
Yeah,
So yeah, it is external too, for sure.
yeah.
I just feel like I feel like it comes from authority figures or from hierarchy rather than from peer-to-peer competition. It's more
Yeah.
like someone in a position of power told me what I could or couldn't do, and I wanna prove to them that I can do it.
Yeah. It's kinda like I know a lot of people listen to their inner critics and think of them differently, but I've heard basically your inner critic is all these outside voices, even if you hear
Yeah.
it as your own voice, and so
Mhm.
it kind of like that's where my head's going listening to you is like somebody made that comment to you, and it's not like you were thinking of them, but just
Yeah.
having that comment in your
Yeah.
head, it
Mhm.
became your own inner voice's like
Yeah.
message, even if that's
Yeah.
not it didn't come from you. That's
Yeah.
like
Totally.
such a prime example, I feel like, of how the inner critic takes hold in these
Yeah.
scenarios.
We need to
Oh,
do
that's so
inner
interesting,
critic
though.
next week because, I have been thinking a lot about inner dialogues
I would
lately,
love
and that so anyways, sneak peek there.
that's like my whole life right now is focusing on my inner critic, but that makes sense, though. Okay, so then I'm curious, like, I kinda wanna go back to, like, when you said your eldest daughter is 7 years older than the
Yeah.
first sibling. Do you just have 1 sibling?
My brother is 7 years younger than her, so 14 years younger than me.
Okay, wow. Because I feel like you mentioned that that age gap, like, lessened the competitiveness between you guys, which totally makes sense to me. Me and my sisters are, like, 2-ish years apart, like, across the
Yeah.
board, so we're very
Uh-huh.
close in, like, age.
Yeah.
So do you think that being 7 years apart from your sibling kind of forced that collaboration? Because you said it kinda forced you to, like I don't wanna say you were parentified, I'm sure you were a little bit, we all kinda were, but, like, do you think that's maybe where the collaboration piece comes from? Is that you were, like, working to I don't know, keep the whole household moving and like, cause I
I
understand the competitive piece now. Now I'm curious, where did the collaboration piece come for you? Because I don't disclaimer, I don't think I'm very collaborative. Sorry to everybody listening who wants to like I just I don't think I give myself enough credit, but I see myself way more if I had to pick one, it's a no-brainer, I'm competitive.
Uh-huh.
I can collaborate. I would prefer to compete. That's just my safety zone. So where did
Yeah.
the collaboration come from for you?
Yeah. So, I don't think it came from my childhood at all.
Okay.
Um, it has only I mean, I've always been interested in collaboration. I've always been interested in like when I was in college, my favorite thing to do was to go out and find people. I was very political. Still am, but I would go out and find people on the opposite end of the political spectrum and we would agree on problems, but like totally disagree on the best way to solve those problems. And I liked having conversations like that and trying to find ways to collaborate and problem solve together. So I've always been collaborative in that way, but even in those interactions, I still wanted to win. I still wanted to be right. I still wanted to be like, but we actually understand the problem this way, and like the solution is probably the best one. Um, it wasn't until the last year where I have been radicalized toward collaboration, and for me, that happened because I tried to solve really big workplace challenges by myself. And
Mhm.
I realized that sometimes you cannot. Like in this system that we are working within, not to get super political here, but like we need organization. We need like labor organization. Because there are some problems, it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how much of a fire someone's lit under you by saying you won't be able to achieve that. Some things, the power imbalance is so great that you need to collaborate. And I feel like that is a lesson that I have learned over the past year and with just where I am in my career and what I want to do next. For me, the problems that I want to take on and the solutions that I want to put in place require collaboration among lots of different people.
That makes sense. So, I guess that makes sense because I only just met you about a year ago, so in my
Mhm.
world, you this is
Yeah.
that's who you are, but really it's newer to you.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
that makes sense though of, like, as we were kinda talking about before we hit record, like, you have a lot of big ideas, you have a lot of things that you wanna solve and work on and, like, accomplish,
Mhm.
and it's just a matter of, like, prioritizing, so it's kind of like when you think of the bigger, like, societal kind of problems that you wanna be solving, it's really easy to realize this is bigger than you can do on your own versus
Yeah.
some of those smaller things that you kind of scatter all around because you could do it. So
Uh-huh.
that makes sense.
Mhm.
I guess I didn't think about it on like that big of a scale. And even listening to you say that, I think of like when I pivoted last year and became a coach and started doing all my burnout research,
Mhm.
I very quickly understood that there is like this basically burnout is at the intersection of like your personal routines and your management and the organization's policies and the way the culture is and all. Like it's not you can't point the finger at either individual, like the person or the org. It
Yeah.
is kind of an intersection of weirdness. But 99.9% of interventions all circle around the individual. The orgs
Mhm.
are not getting on board with like
Mhm.
changing anything on a big level and like
Sure.
actually helping the problem. They're staying in their like, the bottom line matters more than you.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
all we can do is help you with your stress management and help you be more resilient and help you
Sure.
basically tolerate more of their bullshit. That's like
Yeah.
basically all burnout interventions.
Mhm.
I don't like that, obviously. So after reading about 20 studies of like all these different like things, I was like, okay, so like I want to solve this problem. Like
Yeah.
personally, I'm like I still
Mhm.
have a long life ahead of me. I want to develop some kind of organizational intervention and find the companies who will let me test it out and like that's like long big picture goal. But
Yeah.
obviously very quickly I realized like I can't do that alone. I know that because if it was easy for one person to do, it would have been done. Like there's burnout became a thing in like the 70s. So I'm like, okay, there's been 50, almost 60 years of us like trying. Who am
Mhm.
I to think that I'm going to be the individual to solve it? I'm not. I know I need to collaborate with other people.
Mhm.
And I feel like listening to you and all that, it's like, okay, there are definitely scenarios in which I could see myself collaborating. It's just like, I think I struggle with, like, my control, like, even thinking about who would I invite in to help me figure out this intervention, it's like, "But I'm in charge." Like, if I decide I don't like your idea, I'm kicking you out of this project, and, like, that's where I struggle because I still am, like, such a I don't know if it's competitive or if I'm just controlling, but, like, I
Yeah.
want it to be right the first time, kinda, even though
So,
that's so stupid to say out loud. Obviously, if no one's done it before, the first draft's probably not gonna be the right draft.
yeah.
But, like, oh, I want it to be, you know?
Yeah. So when I listen to you talk about that, I hear a few things. I hear like someone who takes their work really seriously and really, you set the bar high for your own achievement and not just because you want to be the best burnout coach that ever lives, but because you want to solve a real problem for
Yeah.
real people
It's like,
that you
stresses me out,
care.
there isn't a solution.
Yeah. So I hear competitiveness in that, but I also just hear like meaning and purpose, and
Yeah.
like just a solid understanding. And then even just listening to how you talked about it, um, first of all, like with the work that you do, it is collaborative amongst people who are experiencing burnout. You don't just I've heard you talk about this so much. You don't just come in and like point people around and boss them around and say, this is what you have to do to get out of burnout. Like your nature or your work by nature is collaborative. And then the way
That's
that you
super true.
yeah, and then the way that you talk too about you know, looking for organizations that want to solve this problem and like letting them test and experiment with what you're putting out there into the world, like you want to find those companies that want the things that you're doing too. So it's I don't know, I hear a lot of collaboration. I just
Yeah.
hear a lot of pride in your work at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, even you mentioning, like, the nature of my work, like, coaching is a collaborative thing,
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
so it's, like, interesting, like, talking about this all, I'm, like, realizing, like, I think I just back to I feel like one of my first points, I just don't give myself enough credit for how I'm collaborative. I feel like
Yeah.
I see myself as more competitive, and I've just adopted the label, and I don't see myself as competitive or as collaborative, and
Yeah.
I think I always trace it back to just, like, when I am in group settings I mentioned this on one of my posts, but, like, when I'm in group settings, I normally naturally fall into kind of a leader position. I feel
Mhm.
like I know I'm competent and I don't know if everybody else is, so I'm
Mhm.
naturally going to, like, step in and make sure that we're on the right page and, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's weird when I'm in a group that everyone is really on it. and
Mm,
I don't have to be the one, and I feel like that's so rare to me that I still see all group things as, like, competition because I end up leading. But
yeah,
really, it's like I just need to find the right collaborators that
yeah,
actually, like, there is a give and take. It's not middle school group project where I'm doing 75% of it anymore and just like
mm,
or I'm the one being like, "Okay, here are the 5 sections. I'll take this hard one, you take the stupid one." You like, I'm like, I feel like
yeah,
even if I was able to map out the work, it's like I was always in charge of divvying up the things and, like
huh,
so it's not that I don't collaborate. It's just like I'm used to being frustrated when I collaborate maybe, and
huh,
so I don't
yep,
see myself that way now even though coaching literally is a collaborative process. Like as a coach, that's literally the entire thing is collaboration.
yeah,
So I
uh-huh,
appreciate you pointing that out because I literally somehow overlooked that. It's like literally a core of who I am. I am collaborative.
yeah, yeah, and I think there's so I was always the same type of person in group projects, like, I was always the one that was, like, doing the most work or delegating because I felt like if
Yes.
I didn't, then things wouldn't get done or blah, 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 and, I think there's a difference between being, like, a leader and then being highly competitive, and I think sometimes they feel similar because
Yeah.
it feels like, well, I'm the most competent person here, and I'm surrounded by all these middle schoolers that, like, are incompetent and don't care as much as I do. And, like, um, so I don't know, I think there's something with people like us that, like, take their work really seriously and, like, really, like, you don't just wanna be a burnout coach, you've, like, studied it, like, a lot. Like, you know a lot about it, and you want to know a lot about it because that's how you're going to do your best work, and so I think that there's but I don't see that as competitive, I see that as just wanting to know your stuff, like, just wanting to be
Yeah.
good at what you do, so
I feel like it goes back to the self competition. It's like I want to know more than I knew before. I want to
yeah,
be better than I was before. I don't
mhm,
have like an external person that I compete with. Like when people say
yeah,
like do market research and find like other similar people in your niche. I'm like, I just don't like I can see that we're all different people. So I don't that
mhm,
part is hard for me. But I
mhm,
feel like you're saying, if I naturally put myself or fall into a leadership position in a group, I feel like my brain translate that into like, "See, you are the best, that's why you're the leader." And, like, so it still
yeah,
comes from, like, a competitive, like,
mhm,
lens in a way.
yep,
So, like, even if everybody in the group was like, "Yeah, Maggie, like, we don't care, we're all introverted and you're the extroverted one, like, you lead." I immediately am like, "I am the best in this
yeah,
group." Because they told me,
yeah,
"Yeah, I can lead." Like, it very much gets translated that way in my brain, even
yeah,
though overall it's still both in a way, like
yeah,
I just think I could put a competitive lens on anything in this world, I think.
yep, yep,
Collaboration, I think, takes a little more conscious effort for me to see it that way, but that
yeah,
doesn't mean I don't do it,
yeah,
or that I'm not good at it.
yeah, totally.
Easier
So
said than done.
yeah, I think because I think it's just kind of it's just very ingrained in American culture. Like American
That
culture just
too.
is very competitive. And I often describe like when I look out at the business landscape right now, I think it's probably because I'm surrounded by solopreneurs and founders, but like when I look out, I just see a bunch of people and it looks to me like they're all trying to like build their own little kingdoms everywhere. And I'm like,
Yeah.
stop doing that. We need to collaborate together. We need to come together. And but even that, I'm like, is that the competitiveness in me? Like, is that the am I trying to bring us all together so that we can all be the best? Or am I like, and who am I to say that we shouldn't all be building little kingdoms everywhere? Like, it's just, so it's even like
Yeah.
in my own head, I kind of go toward all that too, and it just gets confusing. But
Yeah. I totally hear that, and I feel like I'm equally confused, like, I don't even have a question or thought to add, I'm like, "Yeah, no, I get that." That same
yeah,
spiral I feel like I go through.
I think there's something really, really dangerous that the idea of competition does for founders and solopreneurs, which is if someone's already doing it, then you're too late.
Or
Or
you have to do it better. You have to find a
just
new angle and be better.
sure, yes. Um, I
You have to, like,
think that
differentiate yourself, whatever.
yeah, just not letting the need or the feeling to be the best or the first stop you from doing something in the unique way that only you can.
Yeah.
Um, it doesn't mean don't push yourself and don't try to be the best in your space and don't try to differentiate and outcompete others and blah blah blah. Like absolutely do those things. Just don't let the competitiveness of it all stop you from doing something you're really passionate about.
Yeah. And I don't know if this will help you next time you stumble into that mindset because I imagine it will return because
Mhm.
human.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
but while you were talking, it made me think of like when you are doing research and if you read a study that had like a very small sample size,
Mhm.
the conclusions are a little less powerful. You
Yeah.
need a lot of people in order to validate the thing. So even
Yeah.
if you saw 100 other people doing the thing you want to be doing,
Right.
that's still a relatively small sample size,
Yeah.
and it's
Totally.
okay to,
Mhm.
like, insert yourself into, like
Yeah.
into that space, and
Yeah.
I don't know,
Mhm.
that's all I could think of is, like, imagine if one person did one thing and we just took that as, like, the truth when there's
Best. Yeah.
billions of people, like,
Totally. Yep.
that's actually really illogical, so that
Yeah.
actually listening to all that and, like, think that, I was like, "Oh, okay." Then I feel even more encouraged to, like, step in and try my own thing
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it'll if nothing else, it'll help everybody else with their things, and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
greater good matters more than my individual success, and
Mhm. So
so don't let
collaborative.
that small sample size, it's or like people say on the opposite side where it's like, "Sure, you only got 40 views, but imagine if 40 people were in a room, like, staring at you." It's
Yeah.
like,
Totally.
when you really think of, like, numbers in that way, it's like, if you think of the whole world, there's only 100 of us doing the thing, that's
Yeah.
nothing,
No.
like, why
Yeah.
are we so afraid to insert ourselves into that group and just
Mhm.
try and
Uh-huh.
like you said, do your own thing.
Yeah. That's beautiful. What a great, positive, uplifting way to end. I love it. Thank you for that.
Thanks for listening to Honestly Though with Maggie and Kate. We're being so honest about the fact that we really want you to join the conversation.
Drop us a comment, email us a question, or submit a conversation starter for a future episode. You can find out how down in the show notes. See you next week.